The jury in the K Flock case is divided on whether he is guilty or innocent. The prosecutor submitted a letter stating that it could be misinterpreted to mean the jury must decide whether the defendant, given his unique traits, genuinely believed the victim was about to use physical force against him. This is good news for Flock, as it suggests the jury may take his personal perspective into account rather than simply applying a general reasonable person standard. They consider his individual mindset and fears. They might be more inclined to believe he felt genuinely threatened, making it easier to justify his self-defense claim. This development led to a positive phone call from Flock while he was in jail reacting to the news.
Lock it up, Flock. Lock it on my doc. Soon come home, man. You got these little boys walking around with no jewels, Flock. They need you. They need you, Flock.
The situation even led to Lil TJ saying, "Free K Flock." But did you know that K Flock appeared emotional when listening to his gang members snitch on him? Reports indicate that in 2020, Bronx drill rapper K Flock used a firearm against someone who had used one against his friend. Today, that same friend testified against him. The person who testified is Brockington, also known on the streets as Dougie, but not to be confused with Flock's best friend Dougie B, who was arrested for drug trafficking, took a plea deal, and allegedly threw a Flock under the bus. Dougie's decision to testify against Flock could affect his potential release date. To understand how this impacts Flock's release, it's essential to look at the case file. During court, prosecutors asked Dougie who called him after he was shot and hospitalized. KK called, adding, "We got you, bro." The prosecutors clarified that KK referred to Flock, which Dougie confirmed. He also admitted that Flock was planning to retaliate against the people who shot him. Dougie further testified that someone was grazed during the altercation, and when asked if Flock had a firearm, Dougie confirmed that Flock had one on him and was on the phone with members of a rival crew who were circling their block. This testimony aligns with the circumstances surrounding the death of Oscar Hernandez, which deeply affected Flock's close friend, B-Love.
Okay, but so I saw some fans who were off at both me and academics after K Flock got locked up because just because I guess in our tone when we talked about it, it might have seemed like we were being a little too presumptuous. But is that weird for you? Because I'm sure you see people all the way from rappers to whoever acting like your boy is just done and he's cooked in this situation.
I ain't gonna lie, people, especially people that don't even be knowing, y'all don't even know what's going on, bro.
Yeah. On December 23, 2021, rapper K Flock was charged with the death of Oscar Hernandez. Surveillance footage shows Flock walking down the sidewalk with his sister, wearing a blue coat, a shy mask, and designer jeans. As Flock walks past a barber shop, Oscar spots him from inside and runs out, asking, "What are you looking at?" The two begin shouting at each other, and though Flock tries to avoid confrontation due to being with his sister, Oscar continues to escalate the situation by following him. For a brief moment, Flock considered returning to the barbershop, but ultimately decided against it and kept walking. A camera, Oscar is seen reaching for something in his jacket, which caught Flock's attention. Fearing for his and his sister's safety, Flock drew his firearm and shot at Oscar multiple times. Before fleeing the scene, Oscar attempted to make his way back to the barbershop for help, but collapsed on the sidewalk. Witnesses called 911 in an attempt to save him, but Oscar later died at a local New York hospital. All that remained at the scene were shell casings and Oscar's slides. Additionally, Bobby shared his thoughts on K Flock.
What's it like for you watching the K Flock thing happen? That's crazy. Next big artist coming out of New York.
I love Flock, so that's why I get it.
Okay.
But I'm wishing him the best right now, you know what I'm saying? And for the alleged charges they pushing on him, you know what I'm saying? I'm wishing his family the best. I'm wishing the whole team the best and everything, you know what I'm saying? And I hope he beat them alleged charges, you know what I'm saying? Because he got a lot of future brightness. He got, I hope, you know what I'm saying?
That would be a sad story if that's the ending.
We ain't gonna think like that, you know what I'm saying?
You gotta stay positive.
The NYPD released a statement suggesting the incident was likely the result of ongoing tensions between rival street crews, pointing to K Flock's known ties to the Third Side Street team. Due to his status and influence in the streets, he, was frequently targeted by opposing groups seeking retaliation, while his legal team was actively building a defense. The situation took a serious turn when a federal grand jury indicted K. Flock on multiple racketeering conspiracy charge, better known as RICO charges. The news sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community, with many creators reacting online. Some said bluntly, K. Flock just caught a RICO, it's really over. DJ Akenix also weighed in, reporting that the feds had unsealed an indictment, and that the mandatory minimum sentence, unless he cooperates or beats the charges, is life in prison. On top of the federal case, K. Flock is still battling ongoing state charges that have kept him behind bars. The situation has drawn comparisons to YNW Melly's case, with Boosie previously stating that the feds will do whatever it takes to keep high-profile figures locked up.
When they want you, they want you. I knew they wanted them bad when they waited for that law to get passed. So it'd be 8-4.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know, they waited all the way till that law got passed to take him to trial.
Yeah, he was in jail for what, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, they could have been took you to trial.
You're right.
They waited till that law got passed and took him to trial a couple months later. When they want you, man. Just don't see how he didn't get a bond after a fucking mistrial.
K. Flock's legal team responded to the RICO indictment by saying they weren't surprised by the federal charges, especially since they've been actively fighting his state case for over a year. Given that the original incident was clearly an act of self-defense, the charges were never strong to begin with, they stated. What's truly shocking is that this is now being used as the foundation for a federal penalty. The video evidence clearly shows Kevin trying to walk away before being confronted. Only then did he act to defend himself and his sister from an armed individual who appeared to be reaching for a weapon. As K. Flock's trial began, courtroom reporters noted that day one didn't go smoothly for the prosecution. Observers reported the prosecutors were unprepared, stumbling over their words, failing to answer the judge's questions directly, and struggling to present solid evidence to counter Flock's defense. By the end of the day, it was noted that K. Flock appeared emotional. It's understandable given that this was his first time on trial. However, his attorneys remained confident, leaning over to quietly reassure him that he was going to win the case. That confidence ran deep, so much so that Flock shared a hopeful message from jail, reflecting the faith he and his team have in the outcome.
I know you don't know, man. Flock is a liar. I know something you, man. Like, lead me to the guys, man. Hey, yo, like, I'm trying to go school. Shout out to my fans and my supporters, man. I love you out there. For all of you out there, the dollars, man. For me, and do what y'all supposed to do, man. Like, the rest of the world, like, their money. So, man, I'm real sure.
But did you know that many rappers are being targeted by the feds lately? Even Lil Baby was recently called out by Atlanta police, adding to growing concerns that law enforcement is cracking down hard on hip-hop artists.
The investigation aspect of this, Lamont Freeman was allowed to be a 13-year-old for 27 minutes before gang violence ultimately took his life. Gang violence was orchestrated by adults in our city. And cowardly acts of an Atlanta-based rapper that decided to go over into a rival gang stronghold and shoot a music video in a place that he knew he should not have been. And in the subsequent days, we saw and ultimately the deaths of 2 children as a result of his cowardly actions. And you know who you are. And I tell you that this team will work relentlessly to hold you and the persons that you are affiliated with responsible for those actions.
Even Youngin Ace was name-dropped by the Jacksonville sheriff, raising even more eyebrows, with multiple artists being singled out by law enforcement.